ya? Can I get with ya? Can I get with ya? Can I get with ya? Why you wanna get with me? Cause you got a big B-U-T-T, see? Can I get with ya? 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 Why you wanna get with me? Cause you got a big B-U-T-T.
Happy Monday morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at. You are tuned in to the Global Role Player Podcast, live presented to you by Swish Cultures. I am Jordan Taylor, alongside my guys, the Stanford gentleman, co-founder of Swish Cultures, and Anthony Good, and the SEC legend, and now ESPN, SEC Network, and SEC Network college basketball analyst Richard Hendrix. So let's get to it. But before we do, make sure to hit subscribe and the like button below and follow us on all socials with the handle at Role Player Media for the Role Player and at Swish Cultures for Swish Cultures. For those of you that haven't been here before, for those of you that haven't been here before, we got 4 quarters and an intermission worth of topics coming at you, and we always tip it off in the NBA, where allegedly the international guys are running things. However, it seems that none of them want the recognition. Luka Doncic in the news, the latest one to be in the news, saying that he doesn't like being famous. As we know, Nikola Jokic notably stays out of the spotlight. So, fellas, Rich, you tell me, should they take more pride, the international guys, in being at the front of the league? And, is that detrimental to the league or not?
Well, for me, as a basketball guy, I find it refreshing, to be honest with you. I mean, you have some guys who are really, really good at their craft, but at the same time, what they really want to do is focus on their lives and not just make basketball and promotion of themselves the big deal. So I think a lot of the American players grow up and it's all about being marketable at a very young age. But these European players, Giannis Antetokounmpo included, they just seem to want to be family guys and just play basketball and be as good as they possibly can be when they get the moment.
Yeah, and I also think, everybody said it overseas, and you hear it a lot in Europe. They talk about how Europe is the purest form of basketball, and it seems like the players are trying to be the purest form of athletes. When you think about like a Luka and a Jokic, I think they were just raised under a different climate. They were raised to just appreciate playing the game, being as good as possible within the game. And, there's not an entertainment industry over there. There is no ESPN in Europe. So I don't think they grow up with the same aspirations as we do. But I mean, nonetheless, maybe that is the formula to success. Because when you look at guys like Jokic and Luka coming out of high school, coming out of like college, coming out of the professional ranks, as a young player, they learned the game at a faster rate, and they stepped into the NBA with a little higher IQ, playing against those professional players for all those years. So, maybe the formula is to stay out of the spotlight or not chase the spotlight and really work on your craft.
My problem with I think it's cool. Do what you want, right? Like at the end, Rich know me. I'm a guy. Live your life. I'm not gonna get in the way of living your life and thrive. How are you gonna live it? Nah. However, we always talk about guys' responsibility as Charles Barkley says, "I'm not a role model," and he gets chastised for not taking the responsibility for not being in the limelight and not being in the spotlight. But it's always for the negative side. So why would you not have to? You have to take the positive too. Like you have to, if you are famous, that's just the cards you got dealt. That's what comes with it. So why would you not get chastised for not embracing the good side of that, for making yourself available to media, for, sure, you don't like being famous. That's fine. I get it. But you are. That's the life you chose. So just as many times as we get on guys for not embracing that, I don't think is right. And to go to last point too, as Americans overseas, we're told, if you buy into the culture and you buy into the to the environment, you kind of get rewarded, and you don't get rewarded if you don't. You actually get penalized to a sense. Maybe you don't realize, but you get penalized if you don't. So to me, I think it's a little, I don't want to say disrespectful, but I don't really jive with the idea that just because you're European, you grew up a different way, you don't have to get with the NBA environment. You should have to get with the media stuff the same way. And I would say the same thing about a guy like Kawhi, though. Like, I think that's, be fine, that's who you are, but also at the same time, this is your life. Like, but at the end of the day, it's your world.
But I think too, when I look at like how Jokic and Luka came into the league, it kind of reminds me of Canelo Alvarez back when he was starting to ascend, and you had Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao were in the mix. Canelo didn't speak English, and he didn't really care about the spotlight. And I think that in a way, I think it kind of hurt boxing once Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao kind of left the spotlight. So I will be interested to see. I mean, I think basketball is a little different. We'll always have American stars, but if the elite of the elite are going to remain international players and they don't want the spotlight, I wonder how that's going to affect the growth of the game and the longevity.
Yeah, you definitely got to have some players that are relatable. I mean, and that's the aspect when you look at what's going on with American players. How relatable are they to the foreign players? I mean, so you're going to have some aspect. I mean, but listen, the NBA has been really good at marketing superstars for a long time. That's something they're just going to have to make the adaptation to because these superstars today don't give the type of star power that we loved growing up back in the day from the Jordans and other people that were in the media, and definitely made you want to love them, not just on the court, but off the court.
Does the NBA have that problem right now in like kind of watering down who they market because there's no clear cut LeBron, there's no clear cut MJ? Is that an issue or not?
I would say it's got to be. I would say it's got to be one. I mean, I think when there were time periods where we all knew who the man was in the league, Jordan, Kobe had a nice stretch in the early 2000s and right into 2010s. LeBron has had it for so long as the face of the league. It was definitely something that you could all relate to. And to have those type of players that have the style of game that they do, I mean, it was something that was really, really fun to watch. We all wanted to be that. They could market it. Even Allen Iverson for a few years was the face of the league with what he was able to do in the culture. So, I mean, you definitely have to have this when it comes to the players in the game.
I think the guys that want to be marketable are the guys that, if you're talking about legacy, I do think that should impact your legacy. Like, I think Luka and Jokic kind of running from that should impact their legacy. I think like people don't remember, like hoop heads remember Kobe Bryant. He wanted it. He wanted to be the face of the league. He wanted to be the best. They tried to cancel Kobe after that Colorado stuff. They tried to cancel him, and he was getting off planes, dropping 35, 40, like, nah, I'm here. Like, I ain't going nowhere. Don't worry about it. So, like, that type of stuff, like, when you really break it down and, people, the guys that are truly, truly great, I feel like you have to have a love for all things basketball and all things, some of the things that come with that are the hype. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, but I think, too, like, even looking at Luka, I feel like he plays with a lot more of that passion and enjoying the spotlight when he's playing with the national team. He had the documentary follow him around for the last World Cup. You see he plays every summer, no matter how deep they go into the playoffs. He's going to suit up for his national team, and he goes crazy, and I think that this year was the proof in the pudding. I mean, he was super banged up in the finals, and, he still got out there and tried to get his team to qualify, but I think this is what these guys play for. They grow up wanting to play for their national team and things like that. And they'll do all the extras for that. But I think they grow up with kind of a bitter taste about the NBA and the entertainment side of it. So I don't think that they embrace it as much.
But Giannis seems to embrace it. Giannis seems to embrace it. So is it the racial cultural thing?
Hey, I'm about to say, man, flag here.
I'm saying this is the Keep It Real podcast. We can say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? It's a show love / Keep It Real podcast. So is that's a racial cultural thing? That's just where we're gonna leave it.
Man, I mean, it could be. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say, like, because Giannis, I don't know, but like Giannis he just seems more of like a open dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
one screen goes up with it. You got to put a body.
He's a little more. He seems a little more open to the media, open to joke around, make a fool of himself on TikTok. Like, you know, look at these guys, man. Jokic don't even have social media. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
He's out of the way. And Luka, you know, Luka's just on a different level. But yeah, Giannis is just different in general. I don't know if it's just a racial or cultural thing. I mean, look at his brother. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just kind of in their makeup. But yeah, that's a good point though.
Yeah, that's Jokic not having in social media as an NBA MVP this day and age got to be studied. That's crazy, to be honest. But we'll leave it there, man. Before we get into the second quarter, real quick, Goods, tell me who's the we got to talk the women's side, man. That's the hot topic in basketball right now. Who is the rookie of the year in the WNBA right now? Real quick.
Oh, it's got to be Caitlin Clark. I don't think that's a question. I think for taking this team to a playoff team and just the amount. I think she's leading the league in assists, right?
I believe so.
And you know, just everything she's done, scoring the ball, triple doubles, all that other stuff. Like, come on, like I don't think that we can overlook what Caitlin has done for that franchise and for that team and for the league in general. I mean, we always talk about like the notoriety, but all that aside, we just talking about what happens between the lines. I think you have to look at Caitlin coming into Indiana as a rookie and leading this team the way she has. But, you know, I do think that Angel Reese obviously deserves some respect leading the league in rebounding and just, like you said, playing with the motor and the success that she's had, even though her season's done. But what are y'all thoughts?
I most definitely think this is a situation where you got to go co-MVPs. Listen, this happened before. You go back to 1995 with Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, and they had co-rookie of the years. You got to go co-rookie of the years. You got Angel Reese, who's been coming in. This is something that's been brewing for a couple of years, going back to the national championship game in which she won at LSU on a team that only had a couple of losses on that season. So she's answered the bell. You talk about 3 straight games with over 20 rebounds, something's never done before in the WNBA's history. You also want to mean that she definitely has coming in and led the league as a rookie in rebounds, when I don't think the expectations for what she was able to do were expected to be as high as they were. So you have to give her credit. This is the year you have to make it a co-rookie of the year. And you can't pass up on what Angel Reese, even though she's been with the injury, she's been banged up. People criticize her shooting percentage. I mean, you have to give it to her. This is the time to do it because you have 2 players who have played a big role in the promotion of the game.
Yeah, I think I got to go Angel Reese. I heard you mention triple doubles and team success. Shout out Caitlin Clark. She's doing her thing. But you know, they've been building that thing slowly in Indiana. They had back-to-back #1 overall picks and then the #2 pick before that and an all-star before that. Kelsey Mitchell, Alyssa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark has been kind of what's tipped it over the edge. But they got talent over there. Don't get it twisted. So obviously she's done a good job. But I got to shout out Angel Reese, man. Broke the double record, 13 and 13. She's old school. She's a little old school with her game. So I can appreciate that. But listen, let's move it into the second quarter, and we're going to take it across the pond to our overseas world and hop into the Euroleague, where Jetty Osman is the newest signing in what seems to be an arms race over there in Athens, man. Panathinaikos picked up Jetty after he spurned the Lakers for no guarantees. Is Panathinaikos now the best EuroLeague roster that you've ever seen? We go to Good. You got to start it because you are EuroLeague savant.
Man, I think they're definitely the best team on paper right now. But you know, I think this signing, going back to Jetty Osman, man, I think he's a heck of a player, and he's been proven. He's played on some high level teams. He's played around high level talent, and he's found a way to contribute and to stick. And I think that's exactly the situation that he's going to be running into here with Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos is obviously coming off of a EuroLeague championship, and they definitely have high aspirations with all this money that they're spending. But I think this is a good pickup for them. I don't think you could ever have enough shooting on a EuroLeague roster, on any roster at any level. I don't think you could ever have enough shooting. But I think he provides, a veteran presence and somebody else that can stretch the floor for Pana. But it'll be interesting to see how he's integrated into this roster because they're super deep, especially on the perimeter.
I missed it. Did you? My bad, Rich. My bad, Rich. Did you answer the question?
What is this the best EuroLeague team ever?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's the best EuroLeague team ever. But I do think that they have they're super deep, super deep. Because I think there's a lot of players we have like Omer Yurtseven. I think he's a good player. I don't know how good he is though. I don't know how good he is at the EuroLeague level. Like, you know what I'm saying? We haven't seen enough of him, to say, what level big he is. There's still some players that, I love Jarian Grant, obviously Slukas, Lorenzo Brown. You go down the list with Kendrick Nunn, Jetty Osman. They got guys, Mitoglu, like they got guys for days, but is it going to be enough? I don't know. I'd love to see him go. I'd love to see them go back to back because I love Otoman. Honestly, I'm an Otoman fan. Like the way he be in the media talking crazy and be gassing his players. Like I love it, but I love to see him go back to back. And shout out to Pana's owner, man. DPG over there is a nut, man. Scarface is he definitely opened up the bank account for this roster.
Listen, I definitely like the roster when you talk about the names. And you do have to have names because they're not just names. They're also very talented. It's going to be interesting to see when you have so many players on a team that are contributing, how do they get it all to work? Now, Otoman, as you mentioned, he has the track record of getting it done at Ephes. He had some talented teams over there. He came right into Panathinaikos year one and was able to get them back to the top of the EuroLeague. So he knows what he's doing when you talk about understanding personnel and personalities and getting the most out of talented rosters. This is a guy who's won a Euro Cup. He's won a Euro Challenge. He's won 3 EuroLeague championships, and now he has even more firepower to choose from. So, this is going to be another team that's going to be fun to watch. As far as talking about the best team of all time, I don't know. I think there's some really good teams that you go back historically of what they've had in the EuroLeague, and there's some good teams. You go back to that Cheska team that didn't get it done against Olympiacos on the comeback, but the Maccabi Tel Aviv team in 04-05, Anthony Parker, Sarunas Jeskevicius, Maceo Boston, so many players on that team that were running through the EuroLeague in the early 2000s has got to be a team to me that when you talk about David Blatt as the assistant coach to Pete Gershon, that had a lot of firepower on that roster and was fun to watch.
But I don't think we could really sleep on last year's Real Madrid team. Honestly, like I think that this was one of the best teams ever. I think obviously they lost, and we could say what we want about the single elimination final, but over the course of the year, when you look at that roster from top to bottom, they shot it from almost every position except the 5, and I thought they had 2 starting bigs as 5 men in Tavares and Poirier. But that Real Madrid team, watching them in the and there were a lot of whispers about them being the greatest team ever in the first half of the season because I think they I don't even want to guess it at what they did. I forgot how long they went undefeated, but I think that Real Madrid team was definitely one of the best. They just came up short. It's kind of like the the Warriors. Ain't a thing without the ring, right?
Ooh, that's crazy. So are you talking about in terms of like talent, or are you just talking about their production, or what are we?
I'm just talking about their production. When you look at Luka was 40% from 3. You look at the way they shot. I gotta go back and look at the numbers, but the 3-point shooting on that team, and I thought that was the problem the year before in the playoffs, was they did not shoot the ball well from 3. And I felt like they alleviated all of those problems, and a lot of that was due to Campazzo and him being able to break guys down and get paint touches. But he completely changed that team. I don't necessarily like Real Madrid's roster as much this year, but last year I thought they had the best team, the best EuroLeague, all-around EuroLeague team that I had seen in recent memory. But, as we said, it ain't a thing without the ring.
No, I think talent-wise, I don't think that was one of the best teams, but they was effective. Like, don't get it twisted. But talent-wise, I don't know about that. This Panathinaikos team, in terms of being the best team, in my time, and we got Greece in the house, man. Hella good money, and everything. The ultra greens in the house, man.
Down, baby.
Don't shoot, man. Don't shoot, man. Look, but no, this Pana team, I would say this might be the most talented backcourt that I've seen. Like in terms of Lucas, Jerry and Grant, Kendrick Nunn, and then Lorenzo Brown. Like, that's kind of crazy. I don't know. One of them dudes might have to sit a lot.
Yeah, that's
like,
who do you sit? Who do you sit?
But if you're talking about production, but I'm just talking about in terms of talent. But then the bigs like Matthias Lazord obviously doing his thing. I think they got questions after that in terms of the best team ever. Juancho's obviously that. Jetty Osman's obviously that. But we'll see. We'll see how they mesh. Rich might go back to 1937 and pull out a better backcourt because he's a historian. He went back to 2004 talking about Sarunas, Jessica Vicious. Man, people watching this they might not have been alive in 2004.
Let me tell you. See, that's the problem. See, everybody that's now following this stuff always thinks that the EuroLeague started in 2016 with the new format. It's like people have been playing high-level basketball in the EuroLeague for a while. And, you have to give credit to the players who have been getting it done for a long period of time. You got to go back to those early 2000s Maccabi teams that were really, really good. Derek Sharp was a leader, hit big shots, got those teams to a Final Four. Anthony Parker, Sarunas Jeskavicius, Nikola Vucic, who people do not know. I mean, these guys were really, really good players, and everyone thinks about the EuroLeague just only started in 2016 once they went to the expanded round-robin format. You have to go back to the group stages and go back to look at some of those really good teams. 2010 Barcelona, Juan Carlos Navarro being an MVP. Pete Michael on that team was a beast. Erasm Lorbic in the low post. So many really good players that don't get the credit because people only start the EuroLeague in recent years. But it's been like this for a long time, but you don't get the level of games in as many games to see, and it seems to be forgotten. That's a sad thing. The youth need to educate themselves and go back and watch a lot of basketball that happened before the YouTube era.
I want to go ahead, Jay. Because
real quick. I got a shout out Anthony. He mentioned Anthony Parker. You are right in a sense. Anthony Parker, brother of Candace Parker. People don't even know that. Like that's one of the basketball royalty basketball families. Anthony Parker, 2-time MVP in the EuroLeague, like the only American MVP up until Mike James took that honor away from him this year. But to win EuroLeague MVP as an American is difficult in and of itself, but to win it back to back is crazy. And honestly, I don't know how EuroLeague doesn't I guess push his name a little bit more. But good, you had something, my bad.
Yeah, I wanted to, because just thinking about, this whole construction of this, Panathinaikos team and going back to the news that we talked about last week and Evan Fournier coming back over to Europe. Why are these European shooters having a problem sticking in the NBA? I mean, I think this is I feel like now more than ever, this is a time where you got guys like Evan Fournier and shooters like Jetty Osman, and I think this would be the perfect time for these guys to stick because they should be able to just hide in the corner and use all that basketball IQ that these European players tend to have. But in y'all opinion, why do you think that these guys are having such a tough time sticking in the NBA?
Well, I think quite frankly, it's because Americans can shoot too. I mean, shooting is just a skill that everybody has nowadays. And if you can also shoot it off the bounce, which a lot of the European players don't have to the ability as a lot of the American guys shooting at a high clip, it might not be as valuable. You also throw in the fact that you're in a foreign country. And if you can't get to the top level salaries, then why not go back to a place where you're a little bit more comfortable and you can play in a team game and have a larger role and be closer to the people that you want to be around? So I think there's a lot of factors to it. But they're really good players. But I think the comfortability of being in a foreign country and having the options to go to your home or another place is a big reason why you don't see them stay and want to be in an era where now it should be catered to their ability.
I think, well, first of all, I think we got to give better examples. Who's not sticking? Because Evan Fournier played 12 years in the league. And I don't know, he got free healthcare for life. So I think he stuck. Jetty played 7. So what do you mean? Who are we calling not sticking? Jetty didn't stick.
But I'm just saying in regards to every NBA, like if you look at like the need of, let's say every NBA team's out here looking for shooting, right? And if these guys are proven veteran shooters, why are they not sticking? Why aren't they playing? Why is Evan? I mean, Evan hasn't played in how long? He hasn't played like the last 2 years. But I personally think Evan's good enough to play. But my thing is if you got veteran shooters, which seems to be a sought after, veteran shooters with size, which seems to be kind of like a sought after archetype, why aren't they sticking?
I mean, money than everything. Again, he back with the gun, but he says in Europe, guys, the defense matters. But I think he's ironic that he put that there because I think Evan's case is pretty clear. He wasn't playing because he couldn't guard in Thibodeau's system. Like I think that was pretty. And he publicly had an offer with Washington, right? But didn't want to take the 2-year deal and stay there. Jetty, I don't know why Jetty does not on the roster. I don't know why he couldn't get a guaranteed deal. Maybe he did have a guaranteed deal. He just didn't like the options as well. But I don't know. I feel like they are sticking. Like I think the dudes like Davis Bertans he's not sticking. I think that's a better example, and I would say he doesn't stick just because I think the days of that limited skill set in terms of just shooting is kind of gone. You have to be able to guard. You have to be able to put it on the deck a little bit. You got to be a little more versatile, a little more athletic, where in the past I think you could just get away with being kind of a standstill catch and shoot shooter and maybe hiding on defense or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you look at homeboy from the Sixers, the Turkish kid, Furkan. He's out.
Yeah.
He's out. I mean, I just feel like I've just seen a wave of, just teams kind of getting off of these players, warranted or not. I'm just wondering what it is. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when you look at a lot of these rosters, there's a bunch of guys towards the end of these NBA rosters guys that can't shoot and probably jack of all trades, master of none. And it's like, for me, I rather keep some shooting on the bench than have one of those guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Joe Harris was another one. I mean, obviously he's not European, but I feel like for some reason these guys that are kind of pigeonholed as just shooters, they're just not sticking, and I'm just trying to figure it out. That's all.
Yeah, I think just like Rich said, I think you got to be able to do. Everybody can shoot now for real, so you got to be able to add. You got to be able to add a little something different, man. Whatever that is, you got to add that extra extra cachet, extra moxie to your game.
And the defensive versatility. We talked a little bit on the show, previous episodes about Facundo Campazzo, talking about he felt like he had to be saying to get bailed out on the defensive end because he didn't want somebody to go at him. That type of aspect, when you're going pick and roll, teams are switching defenses, isolation basketball, and spreading you out. It's a lot more comfortable playing the European game when it's going to be a team scheme defensively, and you don't have to go out there and be on the island and see what you can do. You can get exposed. So if you're getting exposed defensively and you only get to rock every so often to shoot an open three, I don't know if I want to play that style either if my game didn't seem to match that. So, I mean, that might be a little bit of a reason why they're electing to play. But the Europeans that are coming over, they're really good players. They should have been able to make the adjustment.
We've talked a few times about the team defensive scheme of Europe versus the more individual defensive schemes of the NBA. And one of these episodes, we need to go a little bit more in depth into that because I think a lot of times it gets considered that Europe or defense matters in Europe when it doesn't in the NBA. So today ain't gonna be that day though. We gotta move into the culture and entertainment piece. I know Rich was ready to fire off on that, but pin it, write it down, take a note, make a note in your head, man. Real quick, man. NBA 2K dropped. It is halftime, by the way, and NBA 2K dropped, and they gave LeBron James a farewell tour in the game. I personally can't stand 2K. The scores in the game are 18-16, and it's impossible to make a basket. They've made the game far too difficult for people that just want to get on the sticks every once in a while, which disgusts me. But if anybody wants to see me in Madden 25 for some bread, let me know. However, LeBron's farewell tour is being noted and anticipated. So, Rich, let me know. I know you're a big Jordan guy. You know, you're going to, when Michael Jordan, you know, God forbid, leaves the earth, like, you're going to cry and shed a tear. But what you going to do when LeBron James walks away from the game of basketball, man? What's going to be your reaction?
Oh, well, hey, listen, I like LeBron James too. Let's not get this thing twisted. I mean, I think LeBron is definitely one of the greatest players. He's just not the greatest, because I think that goes to Michael Jordan and what he was able to do in a moment where you had the games were on network television. We all watched it in America, and he was winning in the clutch moments. Now, LeBron James' skill set, he definitely is just as good or better than anyone that's ever played the game. No question about that. I think it will be a sad moment when he does retire from the game, because you see a guy who's been playing in the league for over 20 years, who's been at the top of his game, dominating from the beginning to the end. I think we've taken him for granted. I think we'll have taken for granted the fact that this man is 6'9", 260 pounds. He's been healthy his entire time. He's been a winner and a competitor. He's been able to transform his game from a player that people said didn't have a lot in his bag to now he has so many things in his bag, as well as facilitating. And he's been a great ambassador for the game personally. So I think when he is done, I think he needs to get his flowers, but I hate to see people trying to give it to him prematurely, because when you look at age and what he's able to do now and the way he's so professional, I don't see why they think he's done. I think he can play for a few more years. He can play with his son and continue to be at a high level when it comes to what he's doing in the game. So it will be a sad moment when he does retire. I think people need to give him the credit he deserves, because I don't think he does get it.
I mean, I don't know. I think we're all kind of tired of seeing LeBron, not underachieve. Well, LeBron's teams underachieve. I think we've all grown up in the era where LeBron was constantly in the finals, winning or not, he was always there. And I think the last few years, just seeing them come up short, make all these changes with the Lakers, you kind of see the gravity of having LeBron on a roster and what it does to a team's planning and, projection, long term. So, I'd like to kind of see him go out, fairly soon while he's still on top and he's still dominant and effective. I don't want this to turn into a heartbreak series of like Roy Jones and, some of the other guys that kind of held on a little too long. I'd rather see him go out on top and, get the flowers that are due.
On top of the championship?
Hey, if possible, yeah. I don't think it's possible, but I think look. I think if he plays in another, first round, or if he gets knocked out, even if he makes it to a conference finals, man, I think that's good enough for him to ride out. But I just don't think that the roster is good enough for that to happen in the Western Conference anymore. But I think as long as he makes the playoffs, I think we're good. But I would hate to see him end up missing the playoffs. And then we got to go through, the LeBron summer attention grabbing tweets and all that other stuff that he does in the off season.
Man, that sounds like some hate. Real quick, man, before I go, we got to shout out Rostar fans. It's possible for me to improve my basketball skills. I'm 16, only started 2 months ago. Of course, it's possible, man. Just ask Rich Hendricks, the ultimate optimist. Just get in the gym, work on your skills, start with the fundamentals, man, and just hammer it out every day. Little consistency. That's it, right, Rich?
Roster, man. Get in the gym, keep working on your game, work on your body. You can definitely make it happen. It's not something that you are too late to do this. Find you a group of players that's in your skill development area and play 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 with your group of guys and continue to grow your game. Work on the fundamentals, shooting, passing, dribbling, and watch as much basketball as you possibly can so you can grow your basketball IQ. 16 years old, you still got a lot of time. I don't know what your goals are as far as how far you want to go in your basketball career, but you can always improve your game. So, Rasta, stay at it, man.
That's free game from the SEC legend and ESPN and SEC college basketball analyst Richard Hendrix, man. We're on the Role Player Podcast live, presented to you by Swish Cultures, talking about LeBron's farewell tour and NBA 2K25. We just mentioned him leaving the game. Good says he wants to go out on top. Rich says he's apparently a LeBron fan. I think he's lying to y'all because he loves MJ. However, I think I'm both bummed and excited to see LeBron go out. I'm bummed because I remember watching LeBron in my parents' bedroom when I was 13 years old, play at Arco Arena and start his career. I don't think there will be ever that much hype. I don't think there will be that much hype ever again for the debut of a player. Also, in part, to give credit to Michael Jordan because he was the next up behind MJ. And now, I'm also excited just to see, what the NBA is going to do again, because I think they've created this conundrum where because of the play style, I think it's harder than ever to dominate. And I think that's going to make it difficult to find a clear-cut face of the league. Like, we don't know. They're trying. Obviously, Anthony Edwards has the charisma. Jason Tatum is winning. Luka's right there, but he don't want it. Wemby's obviously behind him. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see. And I'm very curious to see the next 5-10 years of the NBA. However, I don't want the time to pass too fast. So moving on, man, we're going to move in to the third quarter, and we're going to get to the role player of the week as we do every week. And this week, it's Elijah Arenas. He's gone viral for his bag work against other pros this past week. 6'6", can score it. Rich, man, Good's going to sit this one out. But, Rich, is this the best NBA kid that we've seen in modern of the modern NBA players, Steph Curry excluded?
Man, I mean, he's definitely already up there. I think the most impressive thing, I think when people listen to Gilbert Arenas a lot of times on his podcast and what he has to say, he has a lot of hot takes that are controversial. But when you listen to what he talks about as far as basketball is concerned, the man knows what he's talking about when it comes to skill development and what you talk about working out and working your game. And this is a great example of a father working with his son as much as he possibly can to get his game on a high level. 16 years old, giving tough buckets to pros in one-on-one situation. He has the size. He's bigger than his father, who was around 6'3", 6'4", and was a bona fide stud in the league. So now at 6'6", I think we see superstar written all over Elijah Arenas. What do you think, Jay?
Man, he might be next up in turn. He might enter his name into I'll be the face of the league. What is it? He's going to be I believe a 26 class or a junior or a senior. I'm not quite sure, but he might throw his name in the hat about 5 years from now and be the face of the league by 2030, whatever it is. But he's smooth. He can score it. I haven't seen a lot of dudes at that age make it look, and I just saw it on tape. Swiss Cultures was in the gym, but I haven't seen a lot of dudes make it look that effortless. I believe KD was in the gym as well, wasn't he? Goods, you backstage. Jamal, y'all backstage. Was good? Was KD in the gym?
I think I saw that, Jay. I did think I saw that. I mean, I might be mistaken, but I mean, like, that was a heavy hitter, one's pickup situation. I mean, he's not out there with just some high school players. And the confidence that you gain from that kind of stuff is going to be huge. So when he steps right on the court into the NBA, after he's been playing, who is that? Does that look like Nas Reed? I might be wrong.
That's an NBA Sixth Man of the Year. Nas Reed just going at him. That's
and these are
right
tough 1-foot step side jumpers. He has a great shiftiness, change of space. He can get downhill. He has elite level athleticism. I've seen in several footage where he's been able to show windmills and so much of mobility and body control when he gets into the air. So, I mean, you couple that with the mentality that his father has. And if he has that type of mentality, oh my goodness. I mean, you really do see someone who's the face of the league. Now, he's got to stay away from a lot of the extra stuff that maybe was in the previous generation. But if you want to talk about skill set, man, this guy has it. And you got to give his father credit, because if he's been working with his son, kudos to him, because he's done a tremendous job. And that's on the serious tip.
No Diddy, but I'd say I think the most interesting the most interesting part of this, and one of my favorite things about seeing these NBA players, kids, and even we'll transition later a little bit crossover into football, when you get to see Elijah, and you get to see how Gil kind of sees the game and how he teaches the game. When you get to see Bronny, you get to see how LeBron teaches the game and the things that they value and the things that make them great. And it's also different. I think there's so many times this idea that if you're an NBA player, the information you give is kind of uniform and it's this, but there's so many different perspectives and thought processes on how to teach the game and what works best. So, and just, I mean, if you use those two examples, Bronny and Elijah, their games couldn't be more different, but they're both elite at their age in their own right. So I find that very, very interesting. Same thing we saw Tom Brady on the broadcast yesterday. The way he sees the game versus Tony Romo is interesting. We got Duke Baylocks is back. He's a friend of the show. Appreciate you pulling back up. He sees a less passive LaMelo in Elijah. What you think about that? I don't know about that comparison, but what you think about that?
I definitely think that that's something that's going to be huge for them. Sorry, might have had a little bit of technical difficulties as I was talking about the comparison between LaMelo and his father and whatnot, but definitely think that LaMelo and Elijah, the physicality and the frame that Elijah seems to have at 16 years old seems to be a little bit higher level than what LaMelo Ball has, which I think will allow him to be a two-way player.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. But again, it goes back to the development. Is Elijah going to be a two-way player given who his dad is? So
why wouldn't he be? I mean, like, listen,
he'll play two ways.
He's not his dad. He's not his dad. His dad obviously clearly understands the game. So you definitely have the ability to improve on the weaknesses that he has, and he'll do so. I mean, that's the part of having the leadership of someone who understands what you need. You're going to give your child the things that you didn't have, and that's what he's going to make sure that his son, I believe, is going to have in his game.
That's fair enough. And nah, Duke, that ain't no bad comparison, man. That's I think it's an interesting comparison to LaMelo. I think LaMelo is not necessarily a natural scorer, but I do see the comparison in the sense of the size, the length, and just the ability to make plays. I just think their nature, it looks like I think I'd have to see a little bit more of Elijah in a 5-on-5 setting to make an accurate comparison. But no, that's interesting. I think we'll see how that plays out. I don't have a good answer to that, dude. That's interesting. But listen, man, we're gonna move into the fourth quarter. We're gonna get our NBA scout back in the fold, man. Anthony Goods is back, stepped away real quick, and we're going into the coach's corner. And Goods, this is his segment today, so we gonna let him kind of introduce what he's got on tap for us. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, today in the coach's corner, man, I had the pleasure of going to I went to a coach's retreat, and there a bunch of coaches, they got together and they were talking about, before we get into it, they were talking about just different schemes, different philosophies that they had. And then so one of the coaches who's now assistant for the Brooklyn Nets, I believe, Will Weaver, he was a former coach down in Australia as well with Paris Basket. A couple years ago when Victor was coming out of Europe, but he developed the defense. We've all heard of like a box and one, triangle and two, but he developed the I and three. And as we take a look at this, defense, you'll see. I want you guys to kind of check out. You got a guy that'll be at the nail. He'll be helping out on a lot of like the pick and roll coverage, and then you got a guy under the basket. These are usually forwards. Usually you have your hybrid forward up top. Or it could be a three-man, athletic three-man, with your big man kind of cleaning up everything down low. And then you'll have the other three perimeter guys either in on-ball defense or, chasing, denying, things of that nature. So, we'll see how and I think the objective of this defense is to obviously force the ball into the hands of the non-shooters, where you'll see on a couple of these clips, they get the ball to some of the non-shooters, and there's not even a contest. You kind of just let him, as you look on the far side on that wing. I'm not sure who that is over there, but he's wide open for a reason. So my question for all of the fans back home in the comments: does this I and 3 defense, as I pause it right here just so we can see the I with the guy at the nail and the guy under the basket, what do you guys like about it? What do you think the weaknesses are? And do you see it working in the NBA, or is this just something you could do internationally?
Well, I'll tell you this. I would ask this question, and what I would ask Coach Weaver is, what do you do if in the NBA they decide to space out and help 5 outside? Are you able to keep your drop big in the middle of the paint with the defense of 3 seconds? Or what does he have to do as far as clearing out? So also, I would also ask the question, how do you do this against a team that elects to post up? So if someone is able to throw you into the paint, now you're able to get better position with the guy who has that and he wants to kick it out. Where does your rotation come from the guy that's on the nail as part of the eye? Those would be the 2 things I would say would be something to just looking at it simplistically. I mean, what would they be the adjustments I would have to have for that? I'm sure he has a lot of great answers. I mean, but that's what I would look for defensively. How would that work in the NBA if you have to get out of the paint?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. What are the adaptations? What are the adjustments to to the offense? My initial answer, if I got to answer it, would be hell no to the NBA, just because one, the 5 men are going to pick and pop. I mean, I suppose if they pick and pop, you're switching potentially, but I think that creates a lot of mismatch problems. So maybe situationally, I do like the concept of the defense, though. I'd like it as throwing a wrinkle at a certain package of players or a certain lineup. I think it obviously could be very, very effective, but I just don't see, especially when you got these guys in the NBA now who are playmakers or shooters at the 4 or 5 spot. I think that's going to get you into a lot of trouble when they get the ball, whether it's, especially if he's in that drop coverage, you're giving up the pocket, you're giving up the switch and the ISO at the elbow or at the nail, and it just puts a lot of pressure on your defense for no reason. So I think you would have a hard time at the NBA. However, I would be delighted to be proven wrong on that.
I would too. I do think it would be a pretty good option throwing in as a change up, coming out of special sets, coming out of timeouts. You're trying to switch up the rhythm of the game and create a turnover or a bad shot to get the possessions back in your favor. But as a defense and a base defense that you have, I'm not so sure, how effective that could be. I do think it's good. One thing I look at is like, what makes that, other than the fact that they're in the nail, just organically, what's the difference when you have another type of defenses like that? Triangles in 2, box in 1. You're going to end up kind of being at the nail and under the goal in position of help anyways, I would kind of think. But I definitely like the concept of coming up with something that's going to be able to help you to get players out of the play and play in that drop coverage situation and be able to protect the rim with a bottom guy that's already there.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this defense, obviously he said he doesn't use this as a base defense. He does it after timeouts and kind of trying to junk the game up, and that's how he kind of came about it. He said, I think his guys just got confused and kind of messed it up, or he was down 20 in a playoff game. He was all right. There's 2 guys I want to leave open. There's 3 we got to cover, 2 I want to leave open. So let me just keep these 2 guys in the middle of the paint. But I think it's and when you even look at the NBA, I think it's extremely difficult to do just because of defensive 3 seconds. But I mean, not all 4 men in the NBA are shooting the ball, and then they're not all 5 men as well. So I think in a crazy world, maybe it could work for a few possessions, but I think this is definitely better suited for like the college or the European game, where you could just keep that big under the rim, especially if you have size and length down low. But and I think the reason I like this as opposed to, let's say, a triangle in 2 or box in 1, box in 1's a little more simple. But I think a triangle in 2, sometimes people's rotations kind of get a little more confused, or their responsibilities, depending on what sets are being run. And I feel like if you got 3 guys and our responsibility is to deny and chase the ball, and then the other 2's responsibilities are protect the rim, and then you get anything in the middle and you're helping out all perimeter on balls, I think it's a little easier to adjust or to learn the offense, because we're not going to act like every basketball player is a rocket scientist. I mean, we all mess up rotations. So right. I think kind of keeping the game simple like this, I think could be useful in whatever situations that a team might need it.
Hey, I definitely applaud the innovation of him adding something to it. Because when you see the aspect and a lack of creativity by a lot of these coaches, man, shout out to Will Weaver for him even coming up with something that can be implemented in the game. You see a lot of these coaches trying to be copycat, trying to be very vanilla. When you see them coming up with some creativity so he can steal a possession, this type of defensive creativity can win you a game if you want to add this into your bag. So shout out to Will Weaver for definitely going in his bag and coming up with the concept that he believes in can help himself and other coaches grow the game.
I think one question for the Iron 3 defense was, do you switch any off-ball action from Ben Williams? I think it's a valid question, really valid question. Which I don't think you do. No, you probably stay attached.
I mean, it depends. It depends if you're chasing. Like if you're the big, from what I saw in different actions, like if you're the big and they set an off-ball screen, you're there to protect if anything curls to the middle. But if your man is coming off ball, you're chasing that thing. If the non-shooter is coming off of an off-ball screen, you don't care. So from the different actions that I've seen, it just kind of depends on who's coming off and then who's setting the screen as well. I saw where if it is 2 guys that are guarding, that are part of the 3, that are actually guarding, they'll switch it. Those two will switch it if they're involved in any off-ball or on-ball screens. I've seen them three switch. But if it's the big who's supposed to stay under the basket and his man is going out to set his screen, he'll give light help, but he's still staying in the neighborhood of the basket.
And it looks like I do like this. It looks like a defense he played a lot in the French league last year. I played against this team, this Paris team with the London Lions last year in Euro Cup, and we didn't see this defense. So I mean, maybe it's the level. This French league might be Nanterre, might be a little bit lower level of a team. However, the other thing that I like about it is just the mental game, like you said, mucking the game up. You've seen the one clip where Buddy in green on Nanterre shot a three. He was wide open, and what it does, it might frustrate the primary scorers as well when them dudes start clanking shots, and you got good defenders like Paris did with Bergeron hounding the other ball handlers, and them dudes start banging shots. Now all of a sudden you got these dudes frustrated, yelling at each other. So I like Rich said, I do love the innovation and the creativity. Duke Baylock's with a comment that's made for Rich. Mark Eaton would be perfect in that role for the old heads out there, man.
Rich.
The old heads that can name Mark Eaton.
Why are all old head comments directed right to me?
Because you know you a 36-year-old in a 57-year-old mind, man. You wish you was born 25 years ago, and you know that.
Well, here's the thing. I do think that 25 years ago, when you had traditional point guards who set up the team,
25 years prior,
they would identify the situation much quicker than players do today. You come down the court and you see that they're not in the traditional man-to-man or a 2-3 or whatever type of zone that they're in. And they're going to recognize who's got the hot hand and how we can take advantage of this defense that they're going to run. I think when you implement this on your teams now, particularly in younger levels, high school, college, you're going to create some turnovers and some mistakes by the other team, because it could be 2 to 3 possessions before the team and the opposing coach realizes that there was an adjustment made. So if you want to throw it back, like you said in the older school, I think that was the job of the point guard, to be the quarterback on the court, to really understand what was taking place on the court, to make sure that you didn't have those wasted possessions. And today, this type of defense will be even more effective, because it'll be 2 and 3 possessions, which could be 6 to 8 points in a change in the game, because they don't like the recognition of what's happening.
Yeah, and I think going back to the off-ball screen, if we look at this action here, we'll see my man here at the elbow is setting the off-ball screen, and they're just completely ignoring him while the other perimeter player is chasing over the top. So I mean, he gets completely ignored until he gets somewhat near the paint. But that's kind of how they deal with the screens. You're really trying to force the ball into certain players' hands.
No, yeah, 100%. I do like it. And real quick, Rich, I think, I was sad this summer as a point guard to see. I feel like the last of the traditional point guards took a final blow to the heart this year, man, with Tyus Jones coming off what was really a career year, and then signing a vet min, fortunately to a contender in Phoenix. But I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like Tyus deserve a lot more bread than that, a better contract. But to me, that it was sad to see that, because it just the perceived or the perceived value for those type of players just seems to be gone. I think that's sad. I think it's unfortunate, and I want to save this and put a pin in it for our next show. But is it possible to get? I used to love watching Tyus and Ja play together, and is it possible to morph those two players?
Man, we definitely gonna have to talk about that. We got to move on for the segment. But listen, I got to give one more shout out. You're right, the old school point guards. Let's bring it back. We need to see more of that. Let's bring it back.
Give Tyus $100 million, man. Shout out Tyus Jones, man. Give it to him. But look, man, this is it. Good. You want me to do it? I'm doing it. All right.
You gotta run with it one time, man.
I gotta run with it.
I want to hear what it sounds like with that Wisconsin accent, man.
That Wisconsin accent, boy. Listen, I'm an African American from Minneapolis. I ain't got no Wisconsin accent.
Those don't exist. But go ahead.
Listen, I'm the only one. I'm the only one. A dying breed. That's all right. I'm rare. I'm in rare, baby. But look, man, it's that time. It's the end of the episode, which means it's paycheck. Rain check. I've been dying to do this since we started the show. It's always Goods responsibility. But humbly, I think it does come out better out of my voice, man. But listen, we're doing a little crossover. No, wait your turn, Goods. We're doing a little crossover, man. It's football season. Week 1 kicked off, and justice for Greg is trending on Twitter, or was trending on X last night. Greg Olsen, man, humbly took a pay cut to stay with Fox and moved over for what some call the GOAT, who I believe is Patrick Mahomes or Peyton Manning, but we won't get into that. Moved over for Brady, and man, it seems like Brady flopped, man. So let me ask y'all this. Is it foul play by Fox to move Brady to the top of the ticket for the monstrosity of the contract they gave him without being able to prove himself first?
Absolutely. Listen, first and foremost, Greg Olsen has been on Super Bowl coverage. He's done a tremendous job with Fox. He really understands the game from so many perspectives as he played on the line, blocking as a tight end, receiving passes, understands the physicality part of the game. He paints an outstanding picture from it. Now, listen, I understand that was Tom Brady's debut. It might not have been the best, but that's the type of emotion I would have had if I was Greg Olsen, because he's been a true professional and he seemed to get booted off of his slot for Tom Brady to come right in and take the top spot from the rip. So I look at it and say, listen, I love Tom Brady. I think he was a great player. He's got an incredible mind. He will get better and better at the job. But if you just look at what's going on right now, keep Greg Olsen there as he's continuing to grow as a player, because he's still young in the broadcasting career, but he's done a tremendous job. Have them both, but don't bump Greg off the top line.
Hey man, I'm looking at it from the business perspective. We are not the media giant that Fox is, but I will humbly say, if LeBron and Bronny and whoever else of the James family wanted to come over and take over this live stream here on Switch Cultures, it would be a no-brainer. I mean, I think at a certain point,
Who you booting?
Huh?
Right. That was my next question. Who's out?
We rebranding and booting. Yeah, we rebranding and booting. I promise you.
That's crazy. That's crazy. No loyalty.
Nah. It'll be the franchise player podcast with the James family. I promise you that. But, and I think I look at it from a business perspective. I mean, you make this investment. And, we see it in the NBA. Sometimes, even if you cut somebody a bad deal, you make an investment in somebody that's a bigger name that's going to put, butts in the seats. Other people have to get demoted. And unfortunately, that's what happened in this Brady situation. Do I think it was a smart move? No. But business is not fair. Life isn't fair. And I think that, it definitely sucks for him. But at the end of the day, if Brady does end up being bad at his job, they will get him out of there and get Olsen back at the top, as long as there's no hard feelings there. But I just wonder what that dynamic is like, behind camera right now, with all the producers and the talent.
And the first person,
hold on. The problem with your analogy, my bad, Rich. The problem with your analogy is that LeBron James and Bronny will immediately bump the numbers on Swish. I don't think Tom Brady, as great as he is really moving those numbers on the Fox Game of the Week dramatically. Those numbers are already monstrous. Mm-hmm. So right. I think the fact that, if anything, it almost makes Fox look bad, in the sense that you moved away someone who arguably is the best color commentator in the game, him or Tony Romo, and you put up someone. I think that's almost like, damn. Like,
but I think they're trying. I think they're trying to fit that mold. Going from Troy Aikman to Tony Romo, and you getting Tom Brady. I think they're just trying to, hit gold. And that's just how I see it from my perspective.
Tony Romo was on another network, but if you look at, to me, what's the number that's justified for him as a starting salary on something he's never done before? I think that's the thing that you have to ask. Why does he have to come in with so much? More power to him. But, I'd want to know what Kevin Burkhardt had to say. This is a guy who's working side by side. He's been working with Greg Olsen for several years. Now here he comes out there with Tom Brady. And, having chemistry with your partner as a play-by-play is everything when you're out there doing the job. So now here you are with a new partner, and you're trying to do a great broadcast who's called Super Bowls. He's done really high-level games, and now you got a new partner. You got to figure out their cadence, their rhythm, their knowledge of the game, understand how to work off of them, and that's got to be a big-time challenge for him. But I would love to hear his opinion on what he has to say about the performance in the debut. But Tom Brady will get better and better, but it's got to be more justice for my man Greg.
Hey, if there's anything we know about Tom Brady, he's going to improve day by day, man. We've seen it in real time. We know he's going to get better. But, yeah, I agree, Rich, man. Say his name. Justice for Greg, man. That's crazy. Crazy the way they did that, man. That's absolutely nuts. Get my man Greg back on stage. But, listen, man, that's going to be it. That's all we got for you. We appreciate you tuning in, as usual, every week, Monday, 12 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., but we are an international podcast. Continue to check us out. Before we go, make sure you subscribe below, hit the like button, follow us along on all socials at Role Player Media and at Swish Cultures. I am Jordan Taylor. That's the Stanford gentleman, Anthony Goods, and the SEC legend and now color play-by-play at ESPN and SEC. I can't mess up Rich's credentials. He's going to be on my ass as soon as the show go off. So make sure you go follow. Man, yeah, right.
The Franchise Player Podcast coming at you next Monday.
Franchise Player Podcast, man. You see Goods trying to sell us out, man. Go send him some hate mail. We appreciate y'all. That's love. We'll catch y'all next time.